Once upon a time, in a beautiful kingdom surrounded by deep forests and mountains that seemed to touch the sky, there lived a prince who was deeply loved by his people. His name was Prince David. He had a wonderful wife named Lena, an adorable little boy named Joseph, and a faithful dog named Jazz. Jazz was no ordinary dog. He had been part of the family for so long that everyone treated him as one of them. He followed the prince everywhere, even on hunting trips or walks through the palace gardens. And when the prince returned home, Jazz would play with Joseph, protecting him like a loving older brother. But one sad day, Princess Lena suddenly fell ill. Despite all the doctor's efforts, she passed away, leaving the prince and little Joseph all alone, filled with grief. The palace fell silent, and a deep sadness covered the prince's heart. After several days locked in sorrow, the prince thought that a little fresh air and a short hunting trip might help him feel better. He wanted to forget his pain and find the strength to be a good father to Joseph. But before leaving, he asked himself a very important question.
Who will take care of my little Joseph while I'm away?
He looked around. He had many servants, but none of them knew Joseph as well as Jazz did. After careful thought, he made a decision that seemed strange to many. He left his son under the dog's protection.
You are the bravest and most loyal of all,
he whispered, gently stroking Jazz's head.
Take care of him, just as you always have.
So the prince set off on his hunting trip, but this time, without his faithful friend by his side. He felt strange, as if something were missing. He wasn't in the mood to laugh or run through the woods. His thoughts kept returning to Joseph. Finally, after only a few hours of hunting, he decided to return home.
I'll come back another time. Today, I need to see my son.
As he approached the palace, he saw Jazz running out the door, barking joyfully and jumping toward him. But something was wrong. Jazz was covered in blood. The prince felt a chill of fear. He cried out,
Jazzwat, what happened? Where is Joseph?
Without waiting, he rushed to his son's room. What he saw froze his heart. The bed was empty, the sheets were stained with blood, and the room was in complete disorder. Overcome with grief and rage, the prince drew his sword and, without thinking, killed Jazz on the spot, believing the dog had attacked his child. Then, sitting on the floor, he wept like he had never wept before. He deeply regretted leaving his son alone, and now he had killed his best friend. But as he sobbed, he heard a small sound coming from the next room. It was a soft laugh. Joseph's laugh. The prince jumped to his feet and ran to the neighboring room. There he found his son safe and sound, sitting on the floor playing with a rattle. Beside him lay a wicked wolf, dead and covered in blood. Then the prince understood the whole truth. Jazz had not harmed Joseph at all. On the contrary, he had fought the wolf with all his strength to save the little boy. The blood on his fur was not Joseph's. It was the wolf's. The prince fell to his knees. Tears streamed down his cheeks, but these were no longer tears of sadness. They were tears of regret. Too late. He had acted in haste. He had killed his faithful friend, his loyal companion, without even trying to understand. From that day on, Prince David never smiled again. He lived the rest of his life with a heavy heart, carrying the pain of his terrible mistake. And every time he held Joseph in his arms, he remembered this heartbreaking lesson. Don't let anger or fear guide your actions. Before you act, take the time to think. Sometimes the one you believe is guilty is actually the one who did the most for you.